Battle Through the Heavens, Chapter 224. Extracting the green Lotus core flame seed from the flames. The jagged isolation of the cliff settles into his bones as the heavy pedestal meets the stone floor with a hollow thud. A sharp intake of breath catches in his throat. The air turns thin and the silence brittle. Then, the first emerald spark tears through the gloom, twisting the cave into a shimmering, violent roar of distorting heat.
Inside the bright cave, green flames rose violently, carrying sparks that burned continuously. The space surrounding the flames began to distort. It was truly unexpected that the heat of the green lotus core flame would be so terrifying. As the green lotus core flame rose riotously, Yao Lao noticed something. His powerful spiritual power quickly spread out, covering the entire cave, while also isolating the extreme temperature inside from the outside world. In midair, the green flames expanded 100 times as they caught the wind. Following the change in volume, the originally gentle flames became violent. The flames rose with a whistling sound, emitting sizzling noises from within as the surrounding air was burned into a void. His gaze fixed intently on the massive green flame in midair. Xiaoyan turned his head and looked closely at Yao Lao. Waiting until the old man nodded, he finally took a deep breath of hot air. His hand, covered in a blood-colored horny layer, reached toward the distant flame and unleashed a powerful suction. Normally, such suction was enough to easily pull a large boulder. Yet today, despite being closer, the suction was only enough to make the heavenly flame in the air move slowly toward him. Furthermore, every time the invisible suction force came into contact with the green lotus core flame, it could only persist for about 2 or 3 seconds before being burned into nothingness by the horrific heat. Therefore, even though the distance between Xiaoyan and the green lotus core flame was only about a few meters, the dou qi he had to consume was extremely enormous. His eyes stared fixedly at the slowly approaching green flames. Xiaoyan's breathing became slightly hurried, and his forehead was covered in sweat. The sweat flowed down his cheeks, reflected by the blood-colored horny layer underneath, looking like drops of fresh red blood. As the green lotus core flame slowly approached, it brought a terrifying amount of heat. Even Yao Lao, standing nearby, showed a few hints of shock on his face. Clearly, the energy contained within this heavenly flame, ranked 19th on the Heavenly Flame Collection, was somewhat beyond expectations. When the massive green flame stopped about 1 meter in front of Xiaoyan, even though Yao Lao had deployed spiritual power to isolate it, the terrifying heat still caused some of the blue steel rocks in the cave to slowly crack and explode. A moment later, the giant rocks turned into debris, and the debris turned into green powder. With a solemn expression, Yao Lao looked at the massive green flame in front of Xiaoyan. The exterior of his figure became slightly illusory, suddenly fluctuating violently like the surface of water. Seeing his own transformation, Yao Lao's aged face changed slightly. His hands formed hand seals like lightning, and he gave a low shout. A white flame rose from within his body, wrapping his form inside before slowly stabilizing. Having summoned the bone-chilling flame, Yao Lao's figure finally returned to calmness. He retreated a few steps, his aged face still solemn, as he stared at the rising green flames and spoke quickly.
Reach your hand into the center of the heavenly flame. There is a flame seed. Pull it out! Hurry!
Hearing Yao Lao's words, Xiaoyan's body trembled violently. His eyes looked at the blood-colored horny layer, and the corners of his mouth could not help but twitch. Reach his hand into the heavenly flame? Did he want to die? Surprise quickly rose in his heart, but a moment later, Xiaoyan stabilized his spirit. If Yao Lao said so, he would follow. Regarding the devouring of a heavenly flame, he himself did not have a shred of experience, so he could only follow Yao Lao's instructions. Although it was said that during the process of devouring a heavenly flame, even a single mistake would lead to being backfired by the flame and becoming a pile of ash, Xiaoyan had great confidence in Yao Lao.
Xiaoyan raised his head, staring fixedly at the green flames that were getting closer. His hand flexed, trembling slightly as he chose the moment to prepare to reach into the heavenly flame. When the green lotus core flame reached the space in front of Xiaoyan, the hard mountain rocks within 2 or 3 meters of the perimeter had been burned into ash, creating an empty void. Fortunately, Yao Lao was doing his best to protect him. If Yao Lao were to withdraw the spiritual power protection, the entire mountain would be burned to ash by the heavenly flame in a short time.
Sitting cross-legged on the lotus seed pod, the green lotus emitted a faint green glow. This layer of light helped Xiaoyan block a portion of the heavenly flame's temperature. But even so, the heat still seeped in, causing a drop of dark red liquid to appear on the surface of the blood-colored horny layer. In his dark eyes, the eerie green flames were reflected. Xiaoyan's gaze stopped before the massive flame. His throat moved repeatedly, and he clenched his teeth. The blood-colored horny layer covered his arm in layers as he slowly thrust it into the green lotus core flame. As his arm entered the green lotus core flame, the blood-colored horny layer surrounding his arm slowly began to melt. Drops of fresh, red liquid fell continuously, only to be burned into nothingness by the green flames. Although the blood-colored horny layer was constantly being melted by the heavenly flame, as it melted, the medicinal power of the blood lotus pill continuously released cold energy. The cold energy surged through his meridians and quickly reached his arm to replenish the melting blood-colored horny layer. The horny layer was continuously melted and repaired, and finally, Xiaoyan's arm entered the interior of the heavenly flame. In close contact with the green lotus core flame, the blood-colored horny layer all over Xiaoyan's body also began to melt into blood-colored liquid. At a glance, it looked as if fresh blood was constantly seeping through his pores. Even his handsome face was covered by that liquid, looking as if he had emerged from Ashura hell, extremely terrifying. His eyes did not blink, his 2 pupils seemingly frozen as they stared at the green flames rising incessantly. Xiaoyan's hand inside the heavenly flame moved quickly. This was the first time he had contacted a heavenly flame at such a close distance. Although there was a bit of a novel feeling in his heart, there was even more anxiety and unease. If the blood-colored horny layer on his arm could not be repaired in time, then Xiaoyan would likely be turned into a pile of ash in an instant.
The blood-colored horny layer thinned along with the sweat pouring from his forehead into Xiaoyan's eyes. Although there was some pain, he did not even blink, his hand nervously searching through the flames bit by bit. While searching for the flame seed of the green lotus core flame, Xiaoyan could not help but tremble inwardly at the heat of the heavenly flame. It truly far exceeded his expectations. Even under circumstances where he had prepared thoroughly, the heat of the green lotus core flame still seeped through the blood-colored horny layer to clash with the energy of the green lotus, making Xiaoyan's skin turn red like a piece of iron being heated on a forge. Clenching his teeth to endure the intense burning pain, he glanced around from the corner of his eye and could not help but be shocked to find that the space inside the cave, which was originally not very wide, had now nearly doubled in area. Furthermore, at this moment, the green lotus core flame seemed to have sensed Xiaoyan's actions. Suddenly, the green flames rose violently. The natural energy contained in the surrounding space became riotous. Various colors of energy slowly flowed like a multicolored river, looking extremely beautiful. As the multicolored energy swirled around the green lotus core flame, a flame suddenly flared up. Immediately, the circle of mottled energy looked as if a piece had been bitten out of it. Following the riot of the green lotus core flame, the temperature in the cave, which was already terrifying, continued to skyrocket. Around the cave, because of the increasing temperature, cracks began to appear. Large cracks started to spread. In just a short while, this cave could be destroyed. If not for Yao Lao's support, it likely would have collapsed long ago.
The destructive power is truly massive. If this were brought to a city, I'm afraid in less than 1 hour, it would burn that city into ruins.
Seeing that the appearance of the cave had changed so drastically in a short time, Xiaoyan's face showed fear. His heart beat fast, and he murmured a word before shifting his gaze toward Yao Lao. At this time, Yao Lao's spirit was also tense, staring intently at every movement of the green flames. Sensing Xiaoyan's gaze, his originally solemn face suddenly became gentle, and he looked at Xiaoyan with a faint, comforting smile. Seeing Yao Lao smile and nod, Xiaoyan's brows smoothed out. Suddenly overjoyed, he hurriedly turned back and fixed his gaze intently inside the green flames.
Inside the green flames, Xiaoyan's arm, wrapped in the blood-colored horny layer, searched nervously. Suddenly, his moving arm came to a halt. A look of joy gradually appeared on Xiaoyan's face, and a smile was clearly visible. Seeing Xiaoyan's expression, Yao Lao also let out a long sigh. Although the Blood Lotus pill condensed into a very powerful blood-colored armor, it could not endure the burning of the heavenly flame for long. If the energy of the Blood Lotus pill were exhausted, Xiaoyan's attempt to devour the heavenly flame this time would be considered a failure.
His hand tightly gripped the flame seed as if grasping an ordinary substance. Zhao Yan clenched his teeth, endured the burning pain caused by the heavenly flame, and slowly pulled his arm, which was carrying the green flame inside, out. When his arm carrying the green flames was pulled out, one could see that in Zhao Yan's hand was a bit of green rock-like substance in a liquid state, swaying slightly.
Is this the flame seed of the green lotus core flame?
Staring at the molten green rock-like mass carrying a terrifying temperature in his hand, Xiaoyan blinked and murmured softly,